In East Texas, it is beginning to look a whole lot like Christmas. According to the National Fire Protection Association, 30% of annual home fires happen in December, January, or February. The most common risks tied to holiday electrical hazards. Our Nomi Sanchez brings you some tips from experts on how to safely and efficiently install your holiday decor.
For companies like We Hang Christmas Lights, the holiday season starts early every year.
Really, it's from September to January that we are already full force Christmas lights.
As neighborhoods slowly start turning their holiday spark on, owner Matt Meisel shares with us things to keep in mind when installing your outdoor decorations.
Power flows a certain way, so we want to make sure that, we're not ending on what's called a hot mail.
He recommends to instead always end light connections with a female electrical plug. That way connections are not live.
If it's hanging in the gutter, it could, spark, trip your breakers.
According to reports by the National Fire Protection Association, more than 770 home fires are caused by holiday decorations every year. Local electricians share utilizing the appropriate equipment like ground fault circuit interrupters can also add an extra layer of safety.
A lot of times we're using these extension cords that aren't actually rated to be outdoors, or they're not even connecting them into a GFCI, which is one of the main safety features there to actually protect from weather-related events.
According to an early 2000 study by the CDC, more than 17,000 Americans visited a hospital after falls during the holiday season. Misplaced ladders contributing to over half of the fractures caused. Meisel shares tips on how to properly position one.
For every foot of height on the ladder is 4 feet off the wall.
And to save energy,
a lot of people have moved over to going to LED bulbs because they are so much more efficient. But at the same time, one thing we definitely recommend is putting it onto a timer. That way you can set your lights to be on, say, from 5 p.m. to 2 a.m. You don't have them running all day, 24 hours.
Efficiency that can ensure for a safer and brighter holiday season. Nomi Sanchez, East Texas News Weekend.
Poor use of electrical equipment doesn't always result in fire, but it can often lead to other issues, most commonly electrical shock or circuit overloads.